Hi, I'm here at St. Trinity Lutheran Church in the Carondelet neighborhood in South St. Louis. With me is Dr. William Sullivan, who is one of the organists who plays here on occasion. The instrument is a 1903 Kilgen, built here in St. Louis, and it is all mechanical action. And it has only been altered a little bit since its original talk. We have some little chime keyboard for some electronic chimes, namely. We'll talk about that. There's one stop that was changed over from its original specification. But let's look and see what we've got in here. Bill, fire up the organ for me. Show me how it works.
Okay. Love that sound.
So this instrument was originally hand pumped because it was built before the building was electrified. In fact, there is still a bellows signal knob for you could signal the choir boy or whoever was pumping the organ over on the side. But we have an electric blower now. So we have a total of 19 ranks. Is that what we decided?
That's what we decided. It's often reported as 20 ranks, and it was reported as such in the OHS database, but there actually is 19 ranks.
So we have three divisions here: swell, grate, and pedal. Let's start with the swell. What have we got in that swell box?
Okay, the swell, it's a very typical Kilgen swell. It has a number of 8-foot stops of different timbre and color that are built around the 8-foot Geigen principle. We have a solitional. And we have a rather unusual oboe Gamba, which is actually a labial stop. Just has a little more of a horn-like tone.
It's essentially a string stop, but you could use it as in place of an oboe almost.
Exactly. And the ubiquitous stop-to-diapason, which is a very nice one. And then built over that, we have a 4-foot harmonic flute, which makes an excellent foil to the 8-foot flute. And the 4-foot violino sort of acts as a surrogate principle for the 8-foot diapason, but also sounds equally appropriate when added to the 8-foot solution or to the oboe.
So if you've got
and a
quite
2-foot.
Yeah, you've got quite a number of ensemble options there.
So there's a tremolo that's a bit fast. It's cold weather here, and but it's a bit fast, I think, even in warm weather. And some of that just has to do with regulation. Almost Hammond-like.
So we have 7 ranks there in the swell, and it makes for a nice full ensemble, but it's not super loud by any means. It fits nice in the room. Over here on the grate side, we have 10 ranks. Show us what we've got here. We start with a 8-foot diapason.
We have a 8-foot diapason, again expected.
And that's kind of a fluty diapason. It's got a big, broad tone. It's not real edgy like a principal might be.
Yes, it's, again, remembering George Kilgen's background, coming from Bavaria and having apprenticed with Voigt in Bavaria, there's the obvious South German influence, but then remember he also worked, when he immigrated to the United States, he worked for Jardine. So he had an exposure to English influence as well. So what we find with Kilgen often is something between the German, the South German, and the English influence that would have been typical of the early 19th century to mid 19th century. A typical principal ensemble for this for Kilgen's practice at this time that goes from 8-foot all the way to mixture. So we have a 4-foot octave, and we have 8-foot super octave. And it's rather bright. And we have a 3-rank mixture. It's a quint mixture that would not have been unusual.
Now here's a question. We know this instrument was altered a bit in addition to the stop since its original construction in 1903. What are the chances that that mixture still sounds today like it did then, do you think?
Well, Brent, that is a good question. And we really can't be sure. A historical instrument is it's a product of everyone who has tuned it and maintained it over the years. In addition, it's a product to chemical and physical changes in the pipe metal itself.
Because to my ear, compared with that big fluty diapason, this sounds a lot brighter than I would expect.
I'm suspicious of it. I would think that maybe it had been brightened at some point, and that would have not been unusual.
Right. Well, either way, it's still effective and it still works well, and who knows how loud it actually sounds down there. We're sitting right next to it. So that's our principal chorus. What else have we got in this division?
Well, there's a very nice Gamba, again typical of the period, and you might hear a little bit of ciphering there.
It's not bad.
The slider may be just a little out of adjustment. It makes a very nice addition to the grate, especially with the melodia.
It's so different when you put them together.
And there's that sound that is called for so often in music of the period of this instrument, is that 8-foot flute with an 8-foot string in the grate.
It almost sounds like a principal, but it's not quite as big when you combine those.
Exactly, and it makes a fairly nice solo stop as well.
And it cuts a little more than maybe the 8-foot melodeon would.
Exactly.
Those flutes.
And there's a 4-foot flute d'amour that is listed. It just makes a very nice octave flute for the great melodia. And then we have an addition from the early 1990s, trumpet. This replaced a 16-foot Borden.
There's a 16-foot manual Borden.
There was a 16-foot manual Borden.
You can tell they didn't even try to get the engraving.
And this immediately raises your suspicions when you see a modern stop label like that.
And it's not unuseful. I mean, it's your wedding processional trumpet.
Since this is a working church, it's not a museum. It shouldn't be unexpected that changes are made for practical reasons, that perhaps just have for weddings or for other types of music, that at some point it was decided we really need a chorus reed. There were no reeds in this organ. As far as taking a stop out to add a stop, perhaps the jury is still out on that.
Well, I can imagine having a trumpet to cap the ensemble was probably more favorable in the 20th century than having that 16-foot bass. Either one is going to help build up the ensemble of the instrument, but I understand why this was done. And then down here on the bottom we have 2 pedal stops, a 16 and an 8. They're just Borden flutes.
There's your 16.
Pretty typical. And then is the 8-foot a stop flute as well?
It's marked bass flute,
Open.
but it sounds like an open flute. So which makes a sufficient bass for the music that would typically have been played on this instrument at the time.
So let's play along with it a little bit. I'm interested in that oboe over there in the swell, that fake labial oboe. How much of a solo voice could you make of that if you put it against, say, the great flute?
Well, let's see here.
So it worked. You're not going to fool anybody into thinking that's an actual oboe, but it does let's see. Let's do the great Gamba as a solo voice against something in there. You did that a minute ago.
Here we go.
Against the flutes. Well, how does the flute sound if I change it to the melodia against? So we have flute against flute. Okay, it works. It's not as bright as the. So you can actually have both of them and have a nice big solo sound.
Or in the tenor range, you have something.
Yeah, it cuts through. And then if you really wanted a big solo, you could use even the 8-foot diapason
Sure.
in that range. Who needs a trumpet? You got that. And you could even have a 8, 2, and a 4. Let's do this. So we have a whole chorus as your solo. You might need something else.
There we go.
There we go. So you have a lot of options with all of those 8-foot colors. So even though it's not a huge instrument, it's really well designed and well thought out.
Yes.
And gives you a lot of options. And I can understand that maybe somebody counted this as a rank, and that's how the OHS got 20 or our bellows signal, which unfortunately doesn't work anymore. But there's no bellows signal anymore to deal with. And this also has some couplers over there, so we can couple
Yes.
the grate and swell both down to the pedal.
There's a great to pedal coupler activated by a draw knob and also by a reversible pedal. It squeaks a little bit. So this will couple the grate. And the swell to pedal coupler is not activated by a reversible pedal, only by the draw knob. Let's see if we can get some sound. And it's the coupling action is a little bit out of adjustment, so you get a little bit of interesting.
So one sign that some modifications have probably been made, we have 3 toe spoons down there, and there's 2 tabs up here that say forte and piano,
Yes.
but that's not what those actually do, is that correct?
No, actually the forte is this one, and the piano is this one, and at least right now it is. I don't know if this was actually true when the organ was built, but the forte pedal adds all the grade stops, every one of them, including the Gamba. And when you press it again, nothing happens. It's not clear whether that was originally meant to be a reversible, or if this has been jury-rigged somehow, at some later time in history. The piano pedal does absolutely nothing. If I activate the forte pedal, all the stops are on. I activate the piano pedal. It takes off the trumpet, the open diapason, and the mixture, which is rather curious. And I wonder if the composition of these, as you will, presets were actually altered at some point.
One of the reasons we're here, the St. Louis AGO came here a few weeks ago as part of an organ crawl, and we showed off this instrument, and you played for them, and then I was able to record you playing a work by Volckmar, who's a German composer.
Yes.
Tell me how you came to pick that piece.
I was looking for something that would have been known at the mid 19th century, that perhaps George Kilgen would have known who Volckmar was, and something that from the repertory of the as it were the lesser lights of the 19th century that would have been likely to have been played here.
inside the back of the organ here. You have some extra nuts and parts there apparently. These are all of the linkages for the swell. The swell is here in the back. And there's our swell action turning on. So they're actually pulling out the sliders and then shoving them back in. If you look here on the slider arms, there's actually little pencil marks, and these were numbered, so you knew which one went where. Roman numeral 7, 6, 5, and then there's old pencil marks where somebody wrote which one was which. Those run all the way back to the console up there. Just hard to see from here. And then we can see all of the key action coming from the console. And then the pedal stops are over there. There are the pedal runs from the pedal board. So Bill, play something on the swell. So there's some of the 16-foot pedal, and it's on these chests. Turn the 16 and 8 pedal on. This regulator is huge. Bill, turn on full organ and hold some chords. So here's the tremolo for this organ. The linkage from the console is here. Bill, turn the tremolo on. So that opens a valve in that box, which then feeds over here to this device, which is where you can hear it. There's a valve that's just flapping, and that causes the pressure to drop a little bit. Let's see if we can actually... Can't really even see it. It must just happen in the chest. It is pretty fast, so if I can't make that move. No wonder it hasn't been adjusted. So I've got the side off of the organ. You can see the pedal stops there. There's the trackers from the pedal. There's our chime speakers. So there's and then we've added the electric for the lights. The chimes are actually on the side. The noise maker for the chimes is right there. We can see the pedal stop sub bass, and actually the note names are written on there. We've got one here that's had a beard repair of some sort. Turn this around. We can see that there used to be stenciling on the front of these pipes because there's colors and stripes. They've just been painted gold with a brush at some point. Now this one is not a speaking pipe. This is just a dummy facade pipe. So in the facade, you can see there's the 8-foot open pedal, and some of the 16-foot stop face behind it. And then right here, there's our new trumpet. That's where the 16-foot used to be. See that the rack board is new and different. And there's all the tubing for the facade pipes here. This first 4, right where I've taken one out, that's where they start speaking. And then back there is the swell box. Jump from down there up to the swell box, I guess. Not really sure how one gets in there to tune that. There's a door in the back, but as soon as you step in, there's pedal trackers all over the floor. The sides are just these slatted panels. They're not solid. And up at the top, they've actually put little inlets, so it looks kind of like pipes if you see it from the floor. But they're not. They're just pieces of wood on the top of the panels. action. So we have, see how it divides the bottom octave. Bottom 2 octaves goes different directions. And the top octave springs out from there. And that's, of course, the ones we see in front are actually the great keys. If I reach under here to play, that's on the great manual. The swell manual is back in there behind it. That's underneath and back to. There's little threaded rods here. If I can reach in, and they're really stiff, but you can adjust those, and that helps keep the tension on the trackers. There's one on either side. It holds that bar in. The swell trackers are balanced on that. And then the great ones, you can see there's also a knob underneath that goes up into this piece that balances the action. You can adjust the tension on them and to account for changes in the humidity and the weather. You can see there's a little repair that was made there by binding that one. That bar broke at some point, and so it's been fixed by just wrapping it in string and gluing it back together. For the most part, though, everything looks very pristine. So this instrument's in really good condition. It's worth noting that although it's had some changes, like the stop that was added, the trumpet, but it has also been restored. Somebody's gone through, which is one of the reasons it's in nearly pristine condition. The regulator's been re-leathered, and it still plays like it did. There's been a few changes, of course. The lights were added, the chimes. What's that light over there?
This would have been probably an usher signal.
Oh, okay, so they could
so that
flash it from downstairs.
Let the organist know that they're finished collecting money. Stop what you're doing. Play the doxology. And
instead of yelling for it. Okay, so that's a nice modern way to do that. And you probably had an indicator here for your air pressure.
Yes.
That was removed when the electric blower was added. Well, Bill, thank you so much for showing us this Kilgen instrument today. It's been making music for 115 years, and it probably, we hope, can do another 100 years. If you want classical music all the time, remember you can always tune into our 3 streaming stations, OrganLive.com, Positively Baroque, and The Organ Experience. I'm Brent Johnson. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have more of these videos coming up if you want to see some more organs. And as always, thanks for watching.